Right, this morning, we basically have a friend from Atlanta with us. She's the coordinator. She has a ministry called Grace to Parents. We have parents in the house. Potential parents. Yeah. Right, so really please come up. And of course, our own man of war, Dr. Foy.
So I'm actually, good morning, church. How are you doing, church? Are you fine, church? You're fine on me? Okay, if you say so. So this morning I want to try and give context to Issachar before we have the conversation. Now, I see a lot of spiritual people here. I see Toby looking at me like, I know Issachar. I see Helen saying, I'm Issachar. I see an auntie here just saying, come on, I've read this thing 10 times. But then there's some context to Issachar that I want to drive that might just, I spent some time just studying on Issachar. I've been doing this for the past 2 weeks, Issachar as a tribe, because I realized that I have a tendency to always like war. So who has watched Avengers? The newest one. The newest one. Do you remember when this guy, what's his name again? No. Thor. Yeah. Is it, who has the thunder? The one that was fast, that started drinking beer. It's Thor. Now, this is the truth there. Never lie. If I was an Avenger, I'd be like Thor. Do you know why? If there's no war, I'm finished. But that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing. So I'm also learning to be balanced. On Saturday evening, my wife just came and was showing me theme parks, Disney theme parks. She was showing me on YouTube. I'm like, what are we doing to do? Theme parks. Next slide, please. Let's open to Genesis 49, verse 14 and 15. And I want us to read together. So Genesis 49. Please, can we open our Bibles and just let's share on Issachar. Who will read for us? So Uche, the lawyer, will read for us. Okay, please.
Issachar is a raw-boned donkey, lying down among the sheep pens. When he sees how good is his resting place and how pleasant his land, he will bend his shoulder to the burden and submit to forced labor. Any
other translation? Amplified.
Issachar is like a strong-boned donkey, crouching down between the sheepfold. When he saw that the resting place was good and that the land was pleasant, he bowed his shoulder to bear burdens and became a servant at forced labor.
One more translation, anybody? Message.
Issachar is one tough donkey, crouching between the corrals. When he saw how good the place was, how pleasant the country, he gave up his freedom and went to work as a slave.
So, in this verse, this was Jacob speaking about his sons. And Issachar, he called what? A strong donkey. I want to show you that Issachar was compared to what? A strong donkey. In those days, donkeys were also themed as people who were what? Hardworking. May God forgive you there. Hardworking, determined, had what? Willpower. Please let's read together. Obstinacy. They were dedicated to work. Donkeys were not horses. So horses were used for war. Horses was a symbol of glory, of strength. Donkey was a symbol of what? Of submission, of burden. Christ rode a donkey. He didn't ride a horse. So that's the context. Christ didn't come to, he came to what? Carry what? To submit the burden. So that's the first context about Issachar. Now, before I even go far, we are better than Issachar because we have the Holy Spirit. Today, what's going on? So we are better than Issachar because we have the Holy Spirit. Do you get the point? I'm plugging. Okay. So we have Issachar. We are better than Issachar because we have the Holy Spirit. But I want to show you a tribe that they knew what they saw and they did what? They went to carry the burden. Next slide. Can we open to 1 Chronicles 7 verse 5? 1 Chronicles 7 verse 5. Then somebody should open to Judges 5 verse 15. Then somebody Judges 10 and 1 and 2. So 1 Chronicles 7 and 5. Who's there? 7 verse 5.
7 verse 5.
Yes.
The relatives who were fighting men belonging to all the clans of Issachar as listed in their genealogy, were 87,000 in all.
Now, in this verse, Issachar, that tribe, were the ones who went to go and fight. I'm going somewhere with this. Issachar, that tribe, were the ones who they saw the land and they went back to what? To work the land. In this verse, they went to what? Go and fight. Judges 10, verse 1.
After Abimelech, there arose to save Israel Tola, the son of Puah, the son of Dodo, a man of Issachar.
He said Dodo. It's Dodo. He said Dodo. But even the name is Tola, Tola. Now, in this verse, because I'm going somewhere fast. In this verse, the next level of people who fought and stood for what Israel were was from Issachar. His name was John Tola. So, before we go to that First Chronicles 12, they knew the time and seasons. This is the context. Before they came to shine, they were at the back. They were grinding. Judges 5 verse 15. Who's there?
15.
Yes.
Okay, the princes of Issachar were with Deborah. Yes, Issachar was with Barak, sent under his command into the valley.
In this verse, Issachar went to carry Deborah's hand. So you know about Deborah, the judge, the female warrior. She has healing sound. Strong woman.
Sounds like that.
Yeah, sounds like Deborah. In this verse, Issachar went to what? Carry a hand for war. So all we know about Issachar, about how they knew the time and seasons, it was for something. It wasn't about themselves. The strength of Issachar was never about themselves. They fought with Deborah. They judged for Israel. It was never about themselves. And the reason why I'm trying to paint this picture is that spirituality sometimes is taught to be about us. Sometimes I feel that I want to be strong for myself. Sometimes I feel that I want to know the time and season for what? For myself. And the sons of Issachar pushed that boundary. I saw a tribe that didn't want to be horses. They didn't want to shine. I saw a tribe who didn't want the glory of a horse, but could handle the burden of a donkey. I'm going somewhere with this, please. Because most of us really think that this Christian message, this thing is about us. And you guys, I'm part of it, so I'm not trying to say it's we. I get carried away sometimes. And we think that it's about us. We forget too fast the essence of why we're here. We forget too fast the essence of why we're here. We are part of it. I want to stay on these three things quickly. The first is capacity. To some he gave 5. To some he gave what? 3 or 2? 3. And to some he gave what? But did he love any less? So first things first, love and capacity are different. He loves you, but he'll give you 1, he'll give you 3, he'll give you 5. It depends on what you can carry. Let's put that out. That he loved them. The 5, he loved the 3. Did he? He loved the 1, but he gave them differently. Issachars are those who are ready to carry the 5. You see where you're going to, and you step back to carry the 5. And to be spiritual in Lagos, my brother and sister, I'll give you my testimonies and my failures, a lot of failures too. So it's not only testimonies. But to my brother, you must have the back of a what? Of a donkey. He was a judge. You must have a heart bigger than yourself. You must have a heart bigger than yourself. This is the truth. I have a mentor who told me that he doesn't pray for himself. I know it's true. But he said that every time he just stands for people, God blesses him. He has, I'm telling the truth, he told me that he has never prayed for himself for the past 10 years. But the guy is a boss. Our guy is a baller. He's a baller. So I'm trying to reiterate what we're meant to stand for. John Toller was not about himself. The Issachar generation, they knew that it was not about them. And I'm going to place it here. And the mighty men of war, I love Issachar. So I've always loved, I love war movies, like blood, action, knife, let's go. I love those movies. But then I've seen that war is not the end goal. Being strong is not the end goal. It's for something. It's for a greater cause. It's not the end goal. Next slide. This. And then this is the special verse. So let's now read 1 Chronicles, because this is the verse we all read. 1 Chronicles 12 verse 32. We'll read it together. 1 Chronicles 12 verse 32. So have I given context of Issachar? That these guys were donkeys, they were strong men. These guys were not about themselves. These guys were warriors that stood back to fight. Now let's read this verse together. 1 Chronicles 12 verse 32. Uche, please read.
From Issachar, men who understood the times and knew what Israel should do, 200 chiefs with all their relatives under their command.
This is what blew my mind. Please. It blew my mind to pieces. If you read that 1 Chronicles 32 from beginning to end, every other tribe relative were in thousands. Issachar were how many? 200. 200. Listen, if we here just get brain and agree that this is beyond us, we'll take over Lagos. We'll take over Lagos. We'll take over Lagos. 200 men stood and told Israel what to do. Finish. He didn't say 200 men stood for themselves. He said what? They knew what? Israel. Once it is not about you, things begin to happen. Once it is not about you, things begin to what? Happen. But the truth is, can it not be about, is it possible to live in Lagos, to live in this life, to live in this Instagram world, my people? Your timeline that they're telling you, God. Can we live beyond ourselves? Really? Do you do a foundation or you do an NGO and in your heart it's about you, but it looks about them? Do you get the point? Let's call a spade a spade. Spade. Are we on the same page? Are we on the same page? Because I'm giving you context on Issachar. So there are about 3 talking points here. The first talking point is, how do you become strong? And that's what we'll talk about. How do you... Last week, an amazing man spoke, Prophet Eden, and he said it's about chewing and what? And drinking. That's the word and prayer. And I was telling my wife, I agree, because there's no other way. But I know for 20 years, I've chewed and I'm drinking. But they're not strong. I know them. I don't know what they're chewing. I don't even know what lens they're. So it could be that chewing, but through the wrong lens. It could be that chewing only more. But so we'll talk about that. That you can actually think you are chewing and drinking, but from a very wrong lens. Don't me say they don't have teeth. It's okay. See your son. So the first one is strength. We'll talk about strength. The second one is selflessness. How can we be a people that can carry God's burden? Now, in those days, it was Israel's burden. But now, there's a bigger burden. How can we carry God's burden? And let me be very sincere with you. Some days, this is not about tribe or working for tribe. It's beyond that. It's a mindset shift. That's number 2. And number 3 is, how can we discern? I noticed that the more I hide myself in God, the more I know. So I realized that, like Moses, when God says, when you think you should go, you need to go back to God. I've learned that sometimes you know this is where you're meant to be, and you want to go on your own strength, and you're on the path to that place, you're a mess. Strong people, that's 1. 2, how can we live beyond ourselves? And 3, how can we discern times and seasons? Pastor Fede.
Okay, before you go into the question and then your answers, I wanted her to give context as well, so we can tie it together and then we'll start the interaction. Remy?
It's Kaufland.
Good morning. Thank you. Okay, so giving context on this, I think you said quite like everything really. One of the things that stuck out to me was being selfless, taking yourself out of it. When you take yourself out of it, you can see clearer. And didn't think God was going to really like throw me out there very quickly. It's only been 24 hours since I had this experience. But when you make things about yourself, you're so small in the grand scheme of God's plan. I mean, if you just think about just the English or the math of it, out of how many billion people now, you're just one person. So how can you make it about yourself? But when we make it about ourselves, we lose. First of all, you get stuck, and then you just lose the essence of what God is trying to do. So I think we all need to be the Issachars of this time. Just knowing that it's about God. I'll give you a short analogy or story or experience that I just went through. So I was planning an event, and I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what my role was. I knew I was doing God's work, but I think I didn't understand what does God's work mean. Sometimes you think, okay, I'm doing God's work, but it's like you're working at an office. You're working for the company, but my name is at stake. So you want to make sure that all the people that are under you and the manager are doing what they're supposed to do because your name is at stake. But really, it's not your name that's at stake. At the end of the day, it's really your company's name. It's the shareholders. It's the top guy. The one that has to tell the shareholders that, oh, we just lost $5 billion because of one person's mistake. And so I made it about myself. I thought, God, what if I fail? What if I this? What if I that? And I realized in a very hard way that it wasn't about me. And once I let go of the fact that it wasn't about me, it wasn't about if I failed. I was just working for somebody, but I made the job mine. I was just working in the company, but it's like you're working in a company and you brand your whole house and you start calling yourself, going by you put your last name down and start going by the name of your company, and but once you take yourself out of it, and I realized that I didn't know who I was, and I found out that I thought I was working for God. I thought I was doing, I have a calling to do something that God has asked me to do, but I didn't realize that all He wanted me to be was His child, to just be His child. And that's one of the things that I just really loved about the praise and worship today. There was a song that talked about, like being a child of God or something. I can't remember. But one of the things that I did in the past week, when I was really going through like my labor pains, I just surrendered to the sonship. I've never seen myself as a child of God, and when you understand, gosh, I think I took a picture of the song. When you understand whose child you are, like how can you not trust Him? How can you not how can you make it about you? How can you not, when you make it about you, you think you can save yourself. So when you make it about you, you think you have a power to do something by yourself. But when you make it about God, like the sons of Issachar, when you are selfless, then you just, all your eggs are in his basket. When you become a child of God, and again, this prayer and worship, like I needed to be here today, because when you surrender to his sonship, when you make things about God, imagine a child. So the Bible tells us that we're adopted, right? It occurred to me this morning that God showed me a picture of, okay, you're adopted, but you've been living with me for so many years, but because I'm not your birth father, you didn't trust me. There was always something. You always thought, okay, my birth children, I'm treating them, even though I'm treating you the same, you always thought you were different, but then I just surrendered to, I'm adopted. It means I'm now your child. So when you make it about God, it means that you're surrendering to that adoption. When you become a son of Issachar, it's like the reason why they carried that burden was because they were submitted completely to Israel. Didn't matter how Israel was doing, didn't matter if Israel was liked them, didn't matter if Israel had crooks, it didn't matter if you think about, you're doing a season being spiritual in Lagos, if you think about Nigeria, if you think about, gosh, I was telling Freddie yesterday, I was like, thank you so much for running, because I've been here for about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks actually, and I can't lie, it was so easy for me to campaign over this. If I was here, I'm not sure what I would have done. But the sons of Issachar didn't care that there was corruption. They didn't care that apparently in hospitals there's like a cultural thing that they don't allow husbands to enter the labor room. In fact, they discourage them. That's a different story of why I'm not angry at Nigeria right now. But like they didn't care that the place looked hopeless. They didn't care that there was, where do you start from? Is it the lack of education, the desensitivity to life, that people are watching people die right in front of them and they're just thinking, if I try to save this person and they'll say I'm the one that killed him, or is it what, like, they didn't care that Israel was messed up. They didn't care that Israel had people that were broken, people that were that just downright just hated God. They didn't care like what Israel was made up of. They were sold out for Israel, period. Like they had a dream, a hope that this country must not fall apart. So they carried the burden of Israel. And I think that's the most that's what stood out for me the most. Is like, we're just completely sold out for God. It doesn't matter what God's children are doing, because sometimes you give God how you give him, you measure what you give him by how his children are treating you, or what his children are doing, or how they're looking, but that's not a son of Issachar. Son of Issachar doesn't care that somebody was abuse them. They don't care that they picked up the paper just now and somebody just came and just threw the whole basket on the floor. They didn't care that when they walked into the building, nobody greeted them. They didn't care that they were, even though they were trying to be nice, sometimes they're trying to be nice to somebody and that's when they just want to just show you. They didn't care. They didn't care. They had a singular focus, and that was Israel. And I think we as children of God, we have a singular focus, and that's heaven, that's God, that's Jesus. And so we don't care. So we carry the burden. It's heavy, but it doesn't matter because we're sold out to the sonship. We're sold out to God. We're sold out to, we don't care. We don't care what we see. We don't care what's around us. We don't care. We are just, we have one goal, and that goal is to please God, period.
Okay, Remy, thank you so much. I think please come to that. So what stood out for me when I was studying Issachar was the fact, guys, let me not tell you the fact was Issachar was almost not born. So at the time Issachar was conceived, his father was never in love with his mother. Leah was the mother of Issachar. Jacob was never in love with her. In fact, she was a product of deception. Jacob was supposed to end her younger sister, and the father sneaked her in. So when she got into Jacob's house, every child she gave birth to, she gave birth as an expression of pain. When she gave birth to Reuben, Simeon, Levi, at the time she gave birth to Levi, Jacob didn't touch her for a pretty long time. But the night Issachar was conceived, she hired Jacob. Imagine hiring your husband. So she called Rachel and gave her, I think, pomegranate or something, a name of a fruit, and told Rachel, please lend your husband to me for a night. It was that night that Issachar was conceived. And she named him a child of hire, or a child of labor. Now that was how Issachar came into the picture, right? And imagine growing up, realizing that you were almost not born. And in fact, the night you were conceived, your mother paid your father. Paid your father for that. But that's the back end. Now, but Issachar, we saw in Genesis 49, we see another picture of Issachar. This was the time when Jacob was blessing his children. Issachar showed up. And he told Issachar, he looked at him and said, oh, Issachar, you're a child of, you're a donkey. And though you have found it, now you would have thought that, how can you call, first you didn't almost give birth to me. Now you call me a donkey. But hang in there. Let's go to that scripture, Genesis 49, 14 and 15. And let's pull out something that I think is very, very central to the context of Issachar. So it says, Issachar is a sturdy donkey, resting between two saddlebags. Go to 15. When he sees how good the countryside is, and how pleasant the land, he will bend his shoulder to the load and submit himself in hard labor. Now, hang in there. Why do we need to understand Issachar, guys? Now, why are we having this conversation? There are many things you can be talking about on a Sunday morning. Why Issachar? Because there's a grand plan for deception going on in the world today. The greatest weapon of the enemy is deception. And that deception is playing out, deceived by those who have been entrusted to lead them. And rather lead men to God, church people are led to themselves. So there's a deception going on there, right? And then there is also a deception that is going on in the world. The world has always been a cesspool of deception. And there is another type of deception that is called self-deception. And self-deception is when you decide to defend the lies of your life. When you fall in love with your pleasurable sins and your lovable faults. When you decide to take grace and grace and love and edit it and feel that grace can never challenge you to be more. And feel that love is an acceptance of all you need to do. So when we looked at 1 Chronicles 12, they understood the times and their brethren were their command. So what is understanding, guys? Understanding came from the Greek word called benar. And benar means discernment. It means perceptive. So these guys were clearly perceptive. They were discerning. So my point is, why do we even need to be sons of Issachar? We are saying, do you discern? That's the question this morning. Do you even discern? Or are you following everything else? And I can tell you how. In Lagos here, yes, the secular world, you go on social media. But you need to discern on which accounts to follow. You need to discern on what post to read. Because you're opening yourself to all kinds and every kind of stuff. So there is a place for discernment in how we do life. Now, let me tell you why discernment is even more critical. You can never love without discernment. You will love and miss. You will love and miss the point of love. Because love is meant to be acceptance. Discernment is now your window. You cannot become without loving without discernment, you will not have a fence. So am I supposed to give everybody that's asking me for help? I discern who I give it to. Am I meant to travel every time I get invited for a program? I'm meant to discern if I'm going or not. So we're called to be led by the Spirit. We're called to walk in the spirit of discernment. And a lot of Christians are not walking in that spirit of discernment. And so they are caught up in crisis that they never should have been in the first place. Because all the signals and every attempt by God to stop them from going failed. So you cannot live life without discernment. Why are we called to discern? Because grace is not just the roof. It's not the ceiling. It's the floor. So God has developed the finished works of Christ. See what he said. When he sees how good the countryside is and how pleasant the land, he will bend his shoulder to the load. But there was a place where he entered rest. He entered rest. I want to talk about the paradox of our faith. See, God is both the lion and the lamb. The day your own God has only a lamb, the day of war when you're meant to rise up as a lion, you miss the point. Because your understanding of God has no concept of a full picture. Now, let me give an instance. Colin, please come. Ines. Isaac, no, please come. No, Shago.
It's unfair.
I'm going somewhere.
Very unfair. Very unfair. Very unfair. Where's your stone?
Yes, both of us are the same height, so they're thinking that's now, guys, track with me here. Colin, if Shegu is this way, I'm in the middle and Colin is this way, right? If somebody is asked, if the Shegu is asked to define Ferdinand, you know how Shegu is going to define him? Tall, dark, and handsome.
That's me, not Shegu.
Right? No, but the point is, Shegu is saying, I'm taller than Shegu. So if Shegu is saying I'm tall, is it right?
Not really.
Whose school will I go?
In the context, not really.
All these GSS and GGG something, please. But guys, Shegu is 100% right if Shegu describes me like I'm tall. Now, if Colin, be careful. Alright, if Colin is going to describe me, I don't know that Colin will use tall.
You say yeah, okay.
I'll be happy if he uses tall.
Colin is kind of
Right, but Colin. Well, but my point is, if Colin says I'm not as tall, Colin is right, and Shegu is right. Because Shegu is seen from a part, Colin is seen from a part. But the danger of the gospel is the danger of single interpretation. And it's the danger of single dogma or doctrine. So he stands here and says, you trying to say he's short, how he's tall, how dare you? And this one is saying, all of you here, you've missed the point. And this is where the war is happening. And yet God is bigger than all of you. And you touch a part and make it a whole. And so we miss the point. Please clap for them, guys. So why you need to have a discernment in this time is the paradox is there. You will see God as a lamb. See, God has revealed himself. Sometimes the Holy Spirit comes as a dove, right? But there's a dimension of the Holy Spirit that can be an eagle. So, but they have different personalities, different manifestation. So you cannot then say that, no, every time God comes to me, I see a dove. The day he comes as in tribe here, the dimension of the Holy Spirit I see is more ego. So it's actually about strength. Because God has called us to carry stuff. So you must discern where you go, the kind of things you do with your time. You must discern. Last thing that I need you to keep in mind is that the people of Issachar, they were not mainstream people. They were always in the not too popular side. Let's even give you the context. In Judges 5, before I write it, Judges 5 verse 15, guess what was happening on that day? Right? Judges 5:50. Deborah had risen as a judge. The other tribes could not sign up. Did you understand that? Because in their culture, women could never be judges. In their culture, a woman could never be a judge. Yet God had anointed a woman as a judge. No one could see it but Issachars.
They descended.
Issachars could follow the cloud of God's glory. And they never stop in the dogma. They move with God. They understand where God is going. They go with them. The day you begin to use yesterday's revelation to define yourself, you might be stuck. God is always in the new. God is always moving. So don't forget Nehushtan. 400 years before, God told them to raise the brazen serpent. Everyone who looked on the brazen serpent got healed. Now afterwards, they made a carving image of the brazen serpent, and everybody that fell ill would go there. They were going to drop dead people. And God called Jehoshaphat, go and destroy Nehushtan. And the whole city rose up, and just said, I cannot touch that which you gave to Moses. Because it was Moses that brought the brazen serpent. And now the brazen serpent is a symbol of God. They said, God, you used the brazen serpent to heal. God said, I used it 400 years ago, but I'm no longer in it. But they could not move past it. They wanted God, and God said, destroy Nehushtan. I was in the brazen serpent, but I'm no longer in the brazen serpent. The day you begin to follow formulas, you miss the spirit, because the spirit is not formulaic. He's not in that formula. So you just have to trust the leading of God. It will be uncomfortable. Imagine being the only tribe going to war with Deborah. Others will like say, all these Issachars, they know nothing. But guess what? They were in the right. If you're afraid of being unpopular, you're afraid of working with God. Your walk with God, if anything, sometimes will bring you to a place where you're like a lone wolf. where you're like a solitary voice. But be that for him and he will honor you. Now, when you flow back into Chronicles, there was also crisis at the time. The city of Israel, they were in crisis. David was only king in Judah. Mephibosheth had just died. 11 tribes were with Saul. One tribe was actually with David, the warrior. Judah was actually, David was from that tribe. So it's like Etiosa people saying, Ferdinand.
You have to prove this head, eh?
When we become prophetic, you guys will just. So let's move on. But Ikeja refused. Surulere, we're still doing Suru. Like, you go everywhere else, people acting up. Yeah, David was king, and David was the anointed king, right? And the other tribes could not see it. Guess what? When Mephibosheth died, it was Issachar's that stood out first and told the 11. They were with the other guys, but they said, see, we know David is the king. They chose against the popular vote. Because they moved, the 200 guys, they moved. They were men of strategy, they had prophetic insights. Right? And then they moved, the others started to follow. See, if we don't have Issachars in the tribe, we're in trouble. Because at the end of the day, these are men who, and even when they were going to war, guess who were always in front? The people of praise were in front. Then Issachars were next. Then Zebulon. Zebulon, they were the richest. They had money. I could have been there. Right? So at the end of the day, but you have Judah and you have Issachar. Issachars were discerning. Now, the truth about it is that Issachar was a prototype of something we have received in fullness. So we all now, we don't need to be sons of Issachar. Issachar saw only a minutiae of what we were meant to be in fullness. And yet they walked in power, even in their day. And if you have the Holy Spirit and you're not discerning, you have all men, you're like, let's not say that. But that's what it is. Now guess what? There was a story I heard. The woman bought a fridge, the big one, and she went home with it. And she switched on the fridge, he said. She opened the fridge was not working. She called the owners that she bought it from. I bought a fridge from you guys and it's not working, right? You guys track with me? Right? And then the man said, sorry madam, this is rare. But have you read the manual? She said, please don't insult me. You cannot be telling me if I've read manuals. I mean, I'm educated, I know what it is. The fridge is not on. I've always suspected that these things could be scam. The man now said, okay, man, please just follow this simple instruction. She said, okay. She said, just 1 minute, please follow the instruction. The man said, please look at the back. The man looked at the back. She said, look for the plug. And is that on? The man went quiet. Apparently, the woman did not plug the thing. So she turned on, but there was no plug. So the fridge was empty. But that's what we are like when we have the Holy Spirit and we're not plugged into source. So you carry power and you're complaining, your life is not working. You're cesspool of addiction. Everything is falling around you. And you're saying, God, where am I going from here? Because you're not discerning. So if you're in this city of Lagos, we're an Issachar church. Because we're meant to be a prophetic tribe. So what it means is that we cannot exist like everybody else. Some of the things God might call us to do, like we'll be talking about doing a worship trip on the Sunday morning. Put ourselves in the bus, go picnic, worship, bring out the glory of God, people get healed, you come back. Some of you are like, why would you insult Sunday? Why are you not doing it on Saturday? Because in the formula of their mind, Sunday is what it is. They don't understand that God is not a building, God is not an event. That in fact, you are the mobile dwelling place of God. That the final thing God has been teaching me, biology. There are 3 types of relationships between organisms, right? Colin, did you make first class? Okay, give me one. Symbiosis. And which one? Mutualism and symbiosis is the same. There is one more. Okay, guys, but let me take you home. Let me carry you to where I'm going. Now, these are types of relationship. Guess what? God, the Bible says we're a temple of the Lord. What this means in biology is that we are the host for God's Spirit. Right? In biology, they will say you are the host. But now, what is the type of relationship that plays out when you carry God, when you are the host of God's presence? In parasitism, right? when you host the devil will chop you. You understand? Like honestly, you see demon possessed people, like when devil will bend their mouths, and like you're wondering, devil bring them and scratch your hair and be slapping yourself. That's parasitism. Because the host to which you are playing, the one that you're hosting is a devil taker. You understand? But guess what? God is the only organism or the only being that can possess you and make you fully you. So it's beyond symbiosis.
That's symbiotic.
See, it's beyond symbiotic. It's actually a place where he becomes your life. He gives. Right? You are taking nothing. You're no longer a creation. You're a new creation. And my brother, it's a different ball game. Creation, even before Adam fell, was only a shadow of the fullness of that which Christ unveiled. So let's not think that it's the same thing. But my point is, when God takes over, right? When God is your host, there are two things happening. You playing host to God means that you're God's dwelling place. Means that you carry the presence. Means that as God is on the earth today, God is going to love grace, right? God is going to love grace through Fedi. You see it? Amen. If grace is going to experience God and experience the world, grace will experience love or God through somebody. So if God is love, God will just call you, please give somebody 10K. And guess how much in your account? 10,500. 10,500. Now that you log out, Issachars will not log out. Just like, this cannot be God. Since they said I should start hearing God, where things? You like still that's that tribe they've been saying, yeah, God, be led, be led. Is this? I just woke up Friday, so can God tell you to give 10K out of 10,500 naira? You understand? But guess what? In those radical moments of obedience, those unpopular moves, God's glory is most revealed. Right? So if you don't, that's why generosity. Some days I look at the bank statement of the tribe and I'm like, brothers never grow, sisters have not grown. And it's not flesh, it's actually discernment. And I'll tell you why. There's the proof of love is generosity. You cannot claim to encounter God and your generosity is not there. So we'll be struggling to do men's programs, struggling to do sozo. And last night you were balling. And while you were balling, you blew 30K. You understand? And my point is, if you really encounter him, it will show in your giving. It will show in your service. So you will not come here and be saying, these days I don't do Sundays again, I only do Monday or I only do Tuesday or Thursday. Because I don't understand. Immaturity. Lack of discernment. That is what's happening. You will just sit down there and that's self-deception. Self-deception will tell you that it's no, I'm telling you guys, people have been misled because some of the greatest danger of devil is not revealed in darkness again, it's revealed as angel of light. Because if devil come black, we go run. Like we will not run. But you deal with him. Right? But my point is that he doesn't come like darkness. He might just come like angel of light. So that's deception. He will come in the way that you don't see him coming. He's been around though. He's been around for years. He knows the game. So my point is, in your ability, don't let yourself be deceived. Stay on the word. So one of the things Tochiko was talking about, that how do you increase your discernment? For me, I keep telling people, the written word will always reveal the living word. You know, there's some people that will say, no, let's not let the written word limit me. Why are you looking for confusion when there is none? The written word and the living word are not opposed to each other. In fact, only you don't be thinking that the written, it's not. The point is that the written word always reveals the living word. Right? As I walk you right into it, how will you encounter the living word? When Jesus Christ said, see, I am the word speaks of me, it points to me. Right? So you must embrace both. You cannot all find yourself in formulas. Follow as you study, God will increase that place of prayer. I know for a fact, the seasons I'm not praying that much. Guys, you don't want to know. No, it's not as tidy. It's not as tidy. Right? It's not as tidy. Right, so but guess what? So I know that because I'm not a full-time pastor, like I don't know what that means, but what it means is that some pastors don't have hustle. Hustle is not the word. Some pastors don't have 9 to 5. I have 9 to 5. So I wake up in the morning, I have to go to work, and my work is not scripture. Like I don't have clients coming and say, so Fedi, how do we take John 3:16 to the world? That's not the work. I would love that kind of work. In fact, they pay me $10 million a month, and then I'll say, so John 3:16, please, first Timothy 2:15. I would love that kind of work, but I tarry ye till that work But guess what? The work is not scriptural. In fact, yesterday somebody called us from the US. They want to do some animation stuff, and the lady sent me a script. My brother, you don't want to read that script. That script was, it was like a written poem. You understand? And when I saw the description of those things, even me, I said, "Ah, my goodness." And guess what? It's a season where the money looks good, but we know better now. Right? We know better. So at the end of the day, I have 9 to 5. So my point is, so 247, I'm doing research or strategy or thinking around stuff, but I have to plug to source, right? Because that's the way that can sustain me through the seasons. So if I don't plug to source strong and hard enough, by the time I go through the day, I'm almost out of steam, and then I can say the wrong things. Like I can just be so impatient and just quit. Because I've come to realize the flesh has taken over at that point in time. It's our battle, it's the enduring drama of our call. So long as we live in this earth, we must optimize spirituality. We will redesign our life. So I cleared my mornings recently. I want to do 4 hours. Maybe that's where I am right now, because I'm dealing with higher demons. No, honestly, my demons are not, trust me, my demons, they are principality power type. You know that demons have no message. Those ones are pressed at night. Those ones are message demons. Like, no, I deal with territorial. I deal with the territorial, the halls of hell.
So proud.
My son, you will come of age. When you come of age, you will understand. I've dealt with them.
Okay. But please, do we have questions? First of all, are we blessed? Are we blessed? Can we clap for the panel? You're blessed, and hope you have take homes. You have the Issachar journey, being a donkey, being strong, being selfless. What she said is not about you. What he said about discernment.